Hello everyone, today is Christmas morning. Time to unwrap your presents. Hey, what do you know? It's a Mikado. Nice. And it's lettered for Canadian National already. So that is good stuff. This is a Kato Heavy Mikado 282. So I cheated a little bit. It's a Christmas present from me to me. And picked this up from a collector. It's already in really good shape. I am going to clean the tender wheels though. And there's a couple of little parts out of place. So I'm going to be working on that too. So I'll start by unboxing it. These used to come with detail parts that you could apply separately. There's the coupler for the front there, a couple of extra parts. Take a look at the engine there. Now, I read up quite a bit on steam engines, and there's a lot to them. You have to remember in the 20s and 30s, these were the fastest machines in the world. So there's a lot of little parts and technology. And I'm going to remove this slowly from the box. Because it's a good engine. It's a really good engine to get. The only flaw they had was they didn't have quite enough traction. They can't pull that many cars. So Kato made a replacement part for the number 4 driver, so you could get a little bit more traction and pull more cars. So this little guy, it's missing a couple of parts here. It's missing, first of all, the bell. That's a little bit obvious. It's got the classification lights, that's good. And it's missing one of these pins that go from the boiler to the pilot. So I'll be changing that too. The rest of the valve gear, there's your whistle there. I'm missing the pop valves. The whistle's there. Everything else looks pretty good. So I'll be spending most of my time on the tender here. And I'll also find the bell. I'll borrow a bell from another engine. Actually, I'm going to start with this wire that connects the boiler to the pilot beam. So in order to make that, I always keep tie wrap like this around. And all I do is I remove some of the insulation. I get these, you can get these with garbage bags. I get them from my dry cleaner. It's not really hard to find that. If you don't want to use this, you could use maybe a little piece of wire. Works just as well. And then all I have to do is bend it into shape. There's only 2 bends on this. It's basically straight. The first bend goes into the boiler like this. Go into the boiler, and then the second bend goes into the pilot. So I'm going to measure this carefully before I bend it, and the other bend just goes into the pilot. So I'm going to do this off camera. I'm also going to detach the tender. This will make it easier for me to get in there and do what I have to do. So it's very easy, just one screw. And the truck comes out with the drawbar. And then, as you can see, there's 2 wires going to the drawbar. So these 2 come out pretty easily. And that's it. So I just wanted to show it to you once it's in place. I'm just gonna glue it with some crazy glue, and then I'll paint it black. So I borrowed the bell from a 464. It's an actual brass part, so it's very nice. And these, they fit in without any glue. So just like I did, I was able to get back in there and take it back out. It has two little holes in there, and it fits right in without glue. Obviously, end scale, you're gonna need patience. I don't think I want to drop this on my floor because it's small and it's going to be tough to find it. And then that's it. I'm going to do just some painting, and then we'll be ready to work on the tender. So now I'm working on my tender. I'm going to do a one wheel at a time. This little guy picks up electricity from both sides at once. So that can definitely help. So I just clean the wheels like this. They don't look too dirty, but since I have everything in my hands, it's a good time to do it. You would have to clean your wheels maybe once a year, depending on how much you run your engines. I end up not running my engines very much, actually. Always check in your bearing caps to make sure that everything is clean in there too. Sometimes you can get hair in there, so it's a good idea to look at it before you put everything back together. Now, that most people that own these take really good care of them because it's a valuable engine and also a great runner. So that's an extra incentive to keep it in top shape. So that is the front truck. I'm going to go work on the back one. I have a bunch of micro trains. I could put one in there, but I think I'm going to leave it with the Rapido. All my CN freight cars have micro trains now. So I actually would be smart to do it, but I'm thinking that I like this engine to remain as factory fresh as possible. That is my own stuff. I mean, I used to buy my trains new, so I wanted them to look old. I would do a lot of weathering. Now, because I buy my trains used, I want them to be to look new. So so I'll keep this this Rapido coupler on, the factory Kato. That is the good stuff. Oh, you see there's hair in there. Look at that hair. So that definitely keeps your engine from running. So like I say, you should do that maybe once a year, maybe more if you feel that the engine's stalling on you. Definitely worth your time. Now, the engine, I won't put it under my tap with some water and some soap, simply because getting the shell off, I've never done it. I never took it apart. I have a couple of these and they all run really well. It's something to look at. Here, I don't know if you can see, but there is contact strips under there to take the electricity from the front to the back. So I'm going to run the tender shell though under my tap with my toothbrush and some soap and water to get the dust off. And the coal was meant to be shiny. Yeah, what a beautiful part. So I'm gonna let this dry before I put it back together. Remember, as you put your tender back on, the two little wires from the drawbar must contact the two electrical pickup. So then I'm going to put the tender back on. Now I just have to tighten that one last little screw. There. Now I'm going to test it on the bench to make sure my valve gear, everything's working well. It looks pretty good, actually. I don't think there's any problems with it, but I would prefer to find out now that all my tools are out. So I always have my test leads around. So I'm just going to test it with my two test leads, just to make sure the valve gear has got no problems. Beautiful. That's exactly what I like to hear. So we're almost ready to go. Now remember that when these are packaged to you, you have a bunch of little details to put on, including the bell. So when you put it back in its box, you have to make a notch here for the bell. Otherwise, it will not fit back in there and you'll end up ripping the bell out. So that's very important. Well, now it looks pretty good. And now it's time to run some trains. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video, and Merry Christmas to all.